Sometimes we wonder, is education that important? Because there are times people will tell you, oh, you know, these people didn't go to school, Bill Gates doesn't have a degree. Is it important? You can deduce this from the extent parents or families go in an effort to educate their children. We have seen situations where parents would sell their assets to pay fees. We've seen families live on a tight budget so that they can actually be able to pay the money that is required. We've seen people engage in investments and savings programs for many years just to make sure that the money is available. Whether it's education policies, whether it is bank accounts, some join the circle, and there are very many other ways, and people do that for a long period of time. And the other thing that I will tell you is just the amount of interest citizens have in the matters of education. How many adults go back to school? If it was not important, why would adults bother to go back to school? And because it is that important, we have captured it in law. So we have the Education Act, and this is the law that anchors all matters education and gives direction in whatever is going to happen into the nation. But Kenya has ratified the United Nations Charter on the Rights of Children and become a signatory. And this charter says every child has a right to a name and a right to education. You cannot fail to name your child, and you cannot fail to give them education. And even when we have come to the law that really takes care of the children, it's called the Children's Act. It gives every child the right to education and requires that every parent take their children who are below 18 to school. And in fact, if you fail to comply with that law, you can be jailed. And in fact, in the new constitution, in the Bill of Rights, this is a 2010 constitution, chapter 4 of our constitution, Article 53, item 1 and sub B, it actually gives every child the right to education until they turn 18. But there are many parents out there who say, it is not a matter of the law, it is a matter of the faith. What has God commanded me to do? And God has said what? We need to leave an inheritance to our children's children. Education is one of the best ways to actually fulfill that law. And the other thing we must be conscious is that we have a very, very competitive nation. Without education, you'll be very, very disadvantaged. If you're looking at entry to a good education institution, and how do you get that chance? You really must have gone to a good school, you must have gotten a good grade so that you get in there. And even when we leave secondary school and now we want to go to the university, there are a couple of courses that are very, very competitive, and you need to have a very good score for you to be able to take one of those competitive courses. The job market is also very, very competitive. And the fact that we have a sound education, that gives us a better chance to get in the job place. If you consider all those, it tells you how education is important. But there's substantial evidence in this country that education is a bridge. And it is actually a very good bridge that takes people out of poverty and takes people out of servitude. And that's why we have great faith in education. And we've seen there's a lot of evidence from people who've gotten scholarships where people and students are so well empowered so that even the family now has a source of livelihood. So you can actually see what education does. And for every individual, if you think about it, education is a liberator. Education liberates people from ignorance. As an educated person, you can deal with diverse environments. You can deal with diverse people. You can live in different parts of this world without having a problem. When we don't have that good education, sometimes we have a limitation. We have stereotypes of other people. We have fear of other people. And for most parents, if you want to safeguard the future of your children, education is one of the sure ways of safeguarding their future, because if you don't do that, you might spend all your time propping them again and again and again all the time. And you want to make sure that your children get independent and they run their own way. One or more reason why education is important, this is how we polish the diamond. Education helps us to discover and get the best out of our own child. And I think this is what CBC is trying to do, establishing the competencies early in life. So education will help us to polish the diamond. And I think with all those reasons, now I think we've seen why education is important. This affirms the need for education planning for our children. And that's why we invite people to come to the Wealth Creation Masterclass, 2 hours virtual training, and we're saying it's free.